Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're all settling in, so it's nice to finally be able to welcome you. Hopefully the coffees are now kicking in a little bit and you're feeling very energised. Firstly, I think, greetings to everybody. This is such an interesting time in the Middle East, and this event, the Real Estate Development Summit for the Middle East region, it's in its ninth version. I think what's most interesting at the moment is the timing of this and what's going on in the landscape of the region. So I hope you can hear me okay. So I think what we want to do is quickly just do a quick introduction to, I guess there's a format over the next 2 days. Ultimately, this is about sharing information. We really, really want to try and encourage each other to exchange information about what's going on in real estate development in the Middle East region, and ultimately to network, because we're finally having a face-to-face summit and a conference again, which has been so well requested for the last couple of years. So firstly, I guess a great congratulations to GBB for hosting this event. So if we could at least give them a congratulations and a welcome applause as well. Thank you. So my name is Justin Wells. I've put my mugshot on the screen. I'm the CEO of Wells International. I've been blessed to be able to be the chairperson for this event. So thank you very much for that nomination. What I really want to get out of this event for myself, I'm a business owner. I own a global hospitality design consultancy based out in the Middle East. We design all over the world. What we really care about is the landscape of what's going on in this particular region. We care a lot about hospitality as a sector, but obviously we're going to talk about real estate, commercial real estate as well, residential, and other sectors as well over the next couple of days. I think this is what's most interesting to find out what's going on as we are moving through this interesting time post-pandemic, obviously during the Expo era and beyond as well. So I thought I'd quickly tell a very small anecdotal story of a tale of 3 cities. They've only given me 10 minutes, so I'm going to be really short, and if you know me, I can talk for hours, so I'll keep it very, very compressed. I want to reflect on 5 key dates, 5 years, and I want to start with the first one. It's 1988. I'm showing my age here, so again, apologies. But you've all seen that iconic photograph of Sheikh Zayed Road here with the World Trade Center and almost no buildings around it. It's a really famous image of Dubai. But interestingly, at the same time in 1988, the city where I'm from, Brisbane, Australia, was currently hosting the World Expo. So it's you can see where I'm going with this. What happened in 1988 for Brisbane was it was a huge transformation of how that city would progress beyond the Expo. It became firstly the lens and the interest of the world at that one particular time. But beyond that, it became a city that desired to be livable and have access to amenity, a walking city. Infrastructure came in, access to public transport, but certainly large infrastructure projects then heralded on for the next 10 to 20 years beyond that. Airport, railway lines, etc. It's because people wanted to be more connected and they loved the lifestyle and amenity that a city like Brisbane could offer as a way of living. And it, at the time, gave choice from Sydney, one of the largest cities in Australia. So then the second interesting sort of date I wanted to draw to your attention was 2013. This is why I'm in the Middle East, and this is an interesting time as well, because obviously Dubai won the Expo bid. And we've all seen the iconic photographs of His Highness, the Crown Prince on top of the Burj Khalifa, waving the flag, celebrating that great victory. What happened after that was phenomenal. Dubai has always been coined as the fastest man-made event in Earth's history. I love that statement. Don't know if it's true or not, but I love to tell a good story. What's interesting is that hospitality obviously accelerated rapidly because there was a shortfall in demand. Dubai started to become a global hub. I think it's probably been coined the newest and youngest global city. It became a hub to the world, and hospitality and tourism was fundamentally, at that time, was the most important thing that we needed to build in readiness for Expo 2020. The government, the very good government, the UAE and Dubai, started to incentivise hospitality development. We obviously knew that, and people were accelerating with their developments going forward very rapidly. So that was what happened. And then it matured as a city and is maturing as a city. And you're going to get some great speakers over the next 2 days who will give you greater insight, deep diving into more of the granularity about what's going on in the real estate market. But that was a particularly interesting event that happened in 2013. I'm remiss to talk about 2020. We know what's going on in the world there, but let's talk about this year, 2021. Because I think this is the sort of the middle of the 5 dates. This is the one where there's some phenomenal reconsideration of sectors going forward. We all know what's happened with the pandemic, and we all know what's happened with industry like commercial real estate, and the idea of remote working, the idea of working from anywhere, which is a sort of a formula or a philosophy that my company undertakes as well. I have designers working remotely all over the world. And what is the future for some of these industries going forward, or sectors, if there isn't the same aspiration to have people returning back to the office? So there's some questions around what's going to happen and some forecasting that we can talk about within the region as well. The last 2 dates, quite simply, 2030 is really interesting for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There's some very aspirational dates being well spoken about. We're in this time of now as a region in the Middle East where Saudi Arabia is aggressively getting its diversification and I guess social revolution, Saudi 2.0, I've heard all the sort of buzzwords. But it's absolutely aspirational and we love it. So for the region, there's obviously at this time, there's a target towards 2030. I think that's what's most interesting at the moment about how accelerated this will come on, what that means for even the UAE and even the surrounding Middle East as well. And obviously we have other events. There's a Football World Cup next year as well. So that the world's lens is still going to remain on the Middle East. And that's what I think is most interesting. But for 2030, Riyadh, as I'm understanding, is also vying for the 2030 Expo. So here we are. This is the tale of the three cities. So if you could imagine, Riyadh could replicate and even exceed the aspirations of Dubai with an Expo. It's almost hard to fathom. It's been such a successful Expo so far, of what I'm led to believe. I visited it myself here in Dubai. I think it's amazing. It's probably one of the most fascinating Expos that I've witnessed myself. But it's what happens after an Expo that really triggers real estate development and becomes quite interesting. Finally, and very quickly, 2032 is the final date. Why is this an interesting date? Nothing for the Middle East, but it's what happens in this sort of circular way of a city developing. Brisbane is going to host the Olympic Games. So it had the Expo in 1988, matured as a city. Now it's obviously following in the footsteps of a city like Sydney and other famous cities around the world, Paris, Tokyo, to host an Olympics. And you do wonder, back to the Middle East, what could happen in the future with Dubai, with Riyadh, continuing to go on the global stage if, in fact, life after Dubai with Expo exceeds and continues to develop, or even Riyadh continues to develop over the next 1 to 2 decades as well. So I think this is a really interesting kind of way to think about. We're in the middle of a really interesting time for these 3 cities for different reasons, but it's what happens after these events which always triggers some interesting infrastructure, some projects, the idea of creating proper planning or interesting planning outcomes, incentivication for development, diversification, infrastructure development, etc. So that's the quick little tale of 3 cities. What I wanted to do is quickly walk you through the agenda for the next 2 days. Simply speaking, this morning we're going to have a keynote address shortly. Then we'll be running into some panel discussions that'll continue on with a few of our key speakers here as well. Late morning, we'll have 2 other keynote addresses, and then there'll be a solution partner presentation towards late morning. We'll then get into a bit of a coffee break,